Namaste Mitro. Welcome to Channel VR Artist. And this time we have another episode, another brilliant episode with one of the eminent personalities of the art fraternity of India. Till now, in many of our episodes, we have met people, we have spoken to people who presented their creative thinking. But this time we have a guest with us who is known for his not only creative thinking but also critical thinking. Someone who started his career with the creative thinking, but eventually graduated and then mastered on with the intellectual part of art. Yes, it's none other than Dr. Deepak Kannal from Baroda, who served an entire career span with the reputed Maharaja Sayaji University, the MSU University Faculty of Fine Arts, as a dean and then also as a head of department of the art history. Someone who is known for his brilliant views, exceptional a range of thought process. So let us speak to him. A warm welcome, Dr. Deepak Kannal. A warm welcome, Sirji. आपके बारे में if I have to speak, there's a huge things and you started as a sculptor. Then you graduated to be a think tank, someone who is a combination of creative and critical thinking, which is a rare combination. Sirji, how do you see this? Before I really get into the subject, I would like to know something about this. Like, how was your shift from the creative thinking to a critical thinking or to the intellectual part of
it? I think in Baroda, this combination was always prescribed. In Baroda, we always try to envisage the artist as a thinker, as a cultural leader. And that is why art history was a compulsory subject. It was obligatory for all the practicing artists too. Some of the students, they discover some more possibilities in art history and aesthetics. They discover some more exciting corners in these areas and gradually get attracted to them. I think the same thing happened to me. And when I started exploring further, initially it supplemented my creative activity as a sculptor. Then gradually the sculpture took the back seat and I started getting more involved in art history.
Excellent. Because to head the Department of Art History, to get onto the intellectual side of art is something challenging, I see, and something very interesting, I see. The reason is because it's not only the creative aspect, but there'll be a lot of other aspects like the cultural aspects, the psychological aspects, the political aspects, the sociological aspects, all things which govern art and also which inspire art, which there's a whole, because when we go through art history, it gives us the entire episode of time, like what all things could have happened at those times.
Very
so today when I see sir, what do you think, where do we stand, sir, today as in the Indian art scenario? Where do we stand and how do you think, sir?
Since you talked about the aspects, different aspects that have a bearing on the creative activity of a certain civilization or a nation, I think art history in India has not left enough impact on Indian art. The Indian artists, majority of them, I would say 90% of them, are almost unaware of the Indian art history and the Indian aesthetic language. And that is why most of creative work is directly derived from the West. Our contemporary language has hardly anything Indian in it. We do not hesitate to borrow anything from the West directly without even thinking whether it is relevant to our social scenario, whether it is relevant to our cultural scenario. And that is why I think we have been living on a borrowed language all these years. Now, I'm not trying to take a nationalist position. No, I'm not trying to, or I'm not trying to be a revivalist. I'm not trying to say that the Indian art language should be revived. No, I think the Indian art language today should be in continuation with the earlier language, and it must be contemporary. Contemporary and Indian should be the right combination.
Yeah,
So today either it is contemporary or it is Indian.
Okay. I perfectly understand, because this was always a question in my mind, Sarji. Like when I see the spiritual aspects, when I see the literature, the scripts, and maybe like you go back hundreds or thousands of years back, like our entire nation has had a very scientific and spiritual approach towards it. So it was like uh, there is no subject where there is no India has not contributed in terms of knowledge and skills and some. But even in spite of all those things, today, whenever I speak to people, they say like Europe is far ahead of India. And why is that gap, Sarji? What do you think?
Perhaps that happened after the Industrial Revolution in Europe, that Europe progressed much faster than India, particularly in the late medieval period, from Renaissance onwards. But even if that is true, I think at least we should have the awareness of our tradition. And many, like if we are talking about art and art language. Now, you were talking about the intellectual part of art. You were talking about the social awareness of art. All these things. Now, in India, we have theories like Dhwani, which are based on cognition. Now, the Dhwani theory, which is extended to art by Anandavardhana in 9th century, was introduced much earlier, perhaps 1,000 years earlier than that. And at that time, it was mainly focusing on the cognition of a lingual communication. Now, it was a highly conceptual, highly intellectual theory, which was extended to art by mixing it up with rasa. So rasa is the emotive aspect of art, and Dhwani is the cognitive aspect of art. This combination was amazing. Now, if you see the contemporary Western theorists, they are telling us something very similar. Like Julia Kristeva says that the text or any expression has two aspects. One is the symbolic, the other is the semiotic. The symbolic aspect is rational, the symbolic aspect is intentional, the symbolic aspect is conceptual, the semiotic aspect is intuitive, it is emotional, it is sentimental. Now, Rasadvani, there is no difference between this and Rasadvani. Now, but unfortunately, nobody knows about Rasadvani. Nobody wants to know about Rasadvani. So all these things which we inherited, we are almost disowning them. That troubles me. And these theories are very, very contemporary. The Western scholars are taking note of it. The Indian scholars are not.
True. So yes, I definitely, even I too have observed, and it's I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but please correct me. Like the quality or the amount of art history awareness in the art colleges itself is quite poor than the prescribed bar or standards, like how much it should be. If this is right, why is this happening, Saji?
I think art education in India, barring very few exceptions, is based on wrong notions, wrong concepts. Many art schools, a large number of art schools in India do not differentiate between training and education. They train their students with some skills. And once the students acquire those skills, they think that he's fit to be an artist. They don't realize that what the person has learned is only the grammar. And learning grammar is not learning language. We are not giving any importance to language, particularly the visual language. And that is why even the most important artists of India have failed to use the visuality in their painting. Have you noticed that art in India, or forget India, art all over the world, but visual art all over the world is surrendering its visuality. Yes. The visual gravity of painting and sculpture is totally lost. It is becoming extremely verbose. It is becoming very prosaic. It is becoming very literal. It is no more visual. Or sometimes I would go a step further and would say that it is no more art. They are visual statements.
Yes, Sirji, I would agree. I'll just once again, like I will just put my observation. Please correct me if I'm right or wrong. Whenever I see the artworks, there are two three things which are observed nowadays. It is like most of the entire art scenario is there is no much variation. It is all similar kind of things
Very
happening.
true. Very true.
That is one thing. Second thing, when I speak to art students or artists, like the first thing that thought they comes to their mind is like, okay, nowadays abstract works sell more, and so I should become an abstract artist. What sells more, that's going.
Yes.
The third thing is regarding the size of the canvas also. It's like, okay, these big canvases only sell and anything. So small paper, no, the big size, smalls, they don't fetch money. So and the colors, like such type of similar colors, or it can be forms like, or it can be like so I was very very surprised, like when for example, even if suppose let us take Ganesha, one simple concept of Ganesha. I find that artists don't explore that concept of Ganesha to another level and present. It's all very similar images. Like I'm just giving an example. It can be anything. It can be a landscape, it can be abstract.
I do agree with you.
So I feel many a times I feel frustrated.
So
But
what you say is correct. And at the most, I will supplement it a little further that there are different trends in different schools. So if you see Bombay school, then Bombay school has a certain trend. Baroda school has a certain trend. Delhi school has a trend. But every school has trends. And the other observations which you propose, that the art market is governing the art movements, which is extremely true. And the artist community will not appreciate this statement, but it is true that market is playing a very crucial role. The galleries are playing a very crucial role in the art production. And the third thing, as you said, that art is getting monotonous. Everybody, even the issues, the concerns which they are trying to address in their art, those issues too are common issues. People are not thinking about their own concerns; they are borrowing the concerns. If a certain concern is in vogue, if a certain concern is being appreciated by the art world, then every artist wants to address that concern. So we don't realize that when all are thinking alike, actually nobody is thinking. It's a very popular saying, but it is very true that our artists are not addressing their concerns. They're borrowing concerns.
so what do you think? Like, don't you think like the market or the buyer who's governing or controlling the thought process of an artist or the making or creation of an art, but eventually it's damaging or it's trying to make it very what do you think of this statement? Suppose I put this statement, is it right, is it wrong? Like, how do you say?
It certainly is damaging the future of art, because are you realizing that the art is becoming so lackluster? The most important thing, I really feel worried, and I don't understand why the artist community never feels concerned about it, that barring the buyers and the other artists, who looks at art? Barring those 2% of people, or perhaps 1% of people, who cares for art? Does a
True.
common man have any interest in visual arts, contemporary visual arts? So we are producing only for the market, we are producing for our community, and we are not ashamed of it.
That is the I think that is the most hurting or damaging part, because once if my conscience pricks, definitely I will change.
So I'm not trying to say that the art should be populist. Art has its own niches. You can't deny that. That
Yeah.
popular art is not necessarily good art, but at the same time, at least there should be an attempt to reach out to people for whom the art is meant. If it is meant for the society, is there any attempt to reach it out to reach out to the society?
So if someone were to begin to make an attempt saying that, okay, let's let's change this, or let's end. Where do you think the starting point should be, Sarji?
I think we should, in art schools, we should focus more on the notion of language. Actually, see, a language has the potential of communication. It tries to convey something, and unless it is not understood by the other person, it doesn't become language. Otherwise, it becomes music. Well, I'm just talking to myself. If I'm not addressing somebody, then I'm talking to myself. Then I can't complain that my paintings are not being appreciated, my sculptures are not being appreciated. And then we will have to find out a language which has a capacity, as I said in the beginning, to address the concepts, to address the cerebral part of it, and also the undercurrents of emotions. What is happening that some of the works of art today are addressing the social issues, or addressing the intellectual issues, addressing the contemporary concerns. But there they become like critical statements. They do not have, look, if a thing is totally understood, if the thing is within the limits of my cognition, then I don't need art to express it. I need art to express something which I don't understand myself. If I understand it properly, then I can just speak out about it. I can write an essay on it. I can write a book on it. If I have fully understood my thought, I can write a book on it. But I try to use art to enter into the realm of unknown, the things which are not fathomable, the things which I don't understand. When that part comes in, then I try to seek the solace of art, seek the medium of art. Contemporary art has nothing unknown in it. It is so, as I said, it is so superficial that the statements made are also so ordinary. There is hardly anything conceptual in it. It is pretentious. All the intellectual art, all the committed art, all the socially aware art is so superficial, so ordinary, that all these things are being said in social media. These things are being discussed in the newspapers. What are you trying to say? You don't have anything more to say. Sometimes the memes in social media are more imaginative and creative than the contemporary artists.
True. Here, I definitely agree with you, sir.
Yes,
Just now we discussed like galleries or the market governs, or this thing, the what do you say, directs the artist community. Now, in between this, between a gallery and an artist, I find I see some another 2-3 positions there. Maybe those guys could responsibly try to, like, for example, the curators, art critics, or maybe the media presentations, maybe.
True, but the curator and the art critics can talk or work with the art which has been already created. I'm talking about the intervention before the creation of art. The sensitive minds, the way they should be sensitized, the way they should be trained. I think what we lack is at that stage. We are failing to give this responsibility to the artist, that what exactly are they expected to do. I think a large number of artists are not artists at heart. They are like any other professional. True. And that is why they keep chasing the market. Getting successful is the only desire. How many of the artists are really genuinely trying to chase their concerns, to chase their nagging desires?
So experimentation is definitely lacking in the art fraternity, correct? Yes. That's what it's like.
And if there is an experimentation, the experimentation again is very superficial. They keep experimenting with the material, and now there is hardly any possibility to experiment with the material. And because people since 1930s and 40s, people have experimented so much. You know that even displaying your own shit is also has been done. So there is no scope for further experimentation now. The experimentation should be within the language, not in the end product.
True. Some presentations in the name of contemporary are really nonsense. I'm sorry to use this word.
Obnoxious.
It's like I can't find any relevance, any this thing and all, but yet it gets a stand in the market or a presentation. It's like, why is that? How is that, Sarji? Why can't any art critic or art anyone says that this is something nonsense? Why doesn't it happen? For example, just to quote, sir, sorry, this thing, just to quote, for example, if I see the amount of experimentation that happens in other in other art forms, like for example, it can be in dance, classical dance, it can be in music, or even in theater. For example, you see the Marathi theater, or you see even the Gujarati theater, and all the lot of the experimentations that go this thing. I find that level of, the authentic experimentation or serious experimentations is not in the visual art. Am I right, Sarji, or wrong?
I would call it purposeful experimentation. That the experiment should have a specific purpose. In the field of visual arts, the experimentation is for the sake of experimentation. There is no purpose. Why a person is doing that is not like, particularly I really feel amused about the performance art. Now in performance art, they are so naive. 99% of the performers are very naive. They don't know what they are doing. It's so pretentious, and I think it's a metaphor which has been used thousands of times, and it's a very stale metaphor, but still it is valid. That it is like that story of the child who said that the king is naked. So we are just keeping hush hush because we don't want to be ousted from the community. If you want to be a part of the community, then you have to play the same tune.
One what do you say? It's a bit of a bold question which I'm attempting to what do you say, ask, Sarji. It is like, here once again I would like to please correct me, or please this thing, if it is right, wrong, whatever it is, but this is just a thought which keeps occurring to me when I observe a lot of things. Like for example, it's like right from the beginning we see the state or the government or the politics of that particular region has always had an influence on art, because they say, like, it's like after education, art is the next most important tool to make a political statement or a narration. It's like it was earlier used. Now, if at all you see, like pre-independence and post-independence, if we see, like, has the politics of our country, be it right from the day one, I'm talking about it, like, has it somewhere misguided, damaged, or has it supported art, or what is that exact thing? Because nowhere you get a clear picture of things, sir.
I think in that case, the art and the artist should be congratulated, because as you said, it is true that the governance always tries to keep a hold on aesthetic activity, but fortunately the artists have very successfully escaped it. Rather, you must be seeing that most of the artists are anti-establishment. Some of them do it with serious commitment. Some of them do it as fashion, but most of them are anti-establishment. There are very few artists who endorse the establishment, and that's true, I think, about the whole world.
Okay.
And that nihilism is always a part of it, because though I'm being so critical, I'm being critical not because I'm totally frustrated about the art scene. I know that there are so many important and good artists who are doing excellent work. So the scene is not as frustrating as it may sound through my discussion. I just wanted to be a little harsh because I wanted to alarm people. But one thing is true, that the artist community, as a community, is always a kind of non-conformist community. And that non-conformism, if they are conformist to their own community. About the world, the non-conformism is always seen in their expression.
One question, I think you would be the right person to answer this. I keep discussing this with various artists. Like they always have an opinion saying that the masters, the old masters, maybe from India or from the world, everything, have tried and attempted and done with almost all subjects and all types of visual forms or visual style. Now, so the present art fraternity believe that, okay, everything is done and dusted. Now we have to simply live with whatever they have done, but still with combinations, like, permutation, combination, like thing like that. And I think in this process, somewhere they have lost what you said. They have become so superficial with borrowed elements, saying that. Now, is this true, Sarji, where nothing is left to explore?
I think if we are talking about the Indian scenario, the ancient Indian art had totally different concerns. And then the modern art in India is following the Western language and Western concern. So I don't think the Indian masters have consumed everything and have left nothing for us. If we are talking about the Western scenario, I think yes, in the modern period, so many things were done, and we almost reached a kind of dead end. But then, in the period of postmodernism, the concerns of art changed, and naturally the language also changed. Rather, I think the repetitiveness is noticed for a simple reason, that the art language could not really formulate the right idiom for the contemporary concerns. We are trying to fathom the contemporary concepts using yesterday's tools. There is a lot of experimentation, but that experimentation is not exactly keeping correspondence with the contemporary concerns. I think we'll have to find a language for today's expression which is radically different, because the contemporary concerns have changed thoroughly. Now what we are trying to address, now if we are talking about abstract painting, I sincerely wonder whether the abstract painting is relevant today, because so much has been done in that area that then it only a few variations, few different compositions, few different color scheme, a little different technique is only left to be explored.
I have one question, Sarji. This is my personal question. It is like which I've kept pondering on it for quite some time and trying to understand, but didn't get into any conclusion as such. Maybe you can throw some light. Just like, for example, the word dharma in our Indian concept, the translation of that has become religion, which is not an equivalent one, which is not a right one. Similarly, I also find the other day also I was discussing with one of the art teachers from Bangalore. It's like the word abstract or amurta, what we call, and the translation of that to abstract is not that equivalent to this. So can you throw some light? Because amurta, like for example, it's like when I see that Dashavatara, let's take any example. For example, that Narasimha Avtara coming out, like the amount of abstraction that has this thing, or it can be even in terms of the verses or symbols, what they are this thing. So the amurta concept of that, does the word abstract or abstraction justify that, or is it
certainly not? As it is, the term abstract is used. If you see books on abstract art published in the West, they It is a blanket. They have started using it as a blanket term. Though initially it was a very specific movement, but now they push in cubism in abstract. They push in futurism in abstract. They push in expressionism in everything. That is everything non-representational is bracketed under the term abstract. Actually, abstract was a specific movement, and then we tried to find a parallel term for that non-representational art, that the art which tries not to portray the identifiable forms. So we started calling it amurta. But once the painting is done, can it be really amurta or abstract? Because abstract, if you use this term while talking to a mathematician, they consider abstract as a derogatory term. The thing which is irrelevant, the thing which is irrational, the thing which is not comprehensible, that is abstract for a mathematician. We use it as an adjective, as an admiring adjective. So I think we'll have to be a little more specific and differentiate between the different possibilities of abstract. This blanket term probably is doing injustice to abstract art.
Sarji, you said the current scenario is very superficial. It is very, it seems to be in a materialistic layer, and it is just surfacial, nothing much in depth.
But again, this is the general scene. The exceptions are certainly there.
Exceptions are definitely there. Exceptions. There are people, I really have seen some of the people who are working. It can be in sculptures, installation art, or it can be in paintings also. They are like, it takes time to comprehend that.
Yes, yes.
Definitely. They are brilliant. But I'm just talking about the, see, what I think is, there are the best elements and the best artists doing best things. I'm not worried about that. When I observe the other ones, which is flowing it's by and large. And when I really speak to the young generation, sometimes it really scares me, and I really think, like, how is it going to be like? Do you think we are at the art is at a challenging time in India? Do you think, or we are at a comfortable, or do you think it's like we need to break? They will have to break the wall sometime.
Yes. I very sincerely feel that visual art is almost getting redundant. We'll have to find a new, like after photography, the impressionists, they discovered a totally different language. Something similar needs to be done today, that we will have to change it radically. Well, because now there is hardly any scope for further experimentation, for further explorations. We'll have to take a Copernican turn and do something really different, because now the films, the videos, they are exploring such impossible possibilities that visual art actually, I very sincerely feel, and my artist friends would hate to agree with me, but I think that the visual art is living, it is alive, just because of the market. The market is keeping it alive.
Otherwise, on its own, the subject content is not strong enough to survive. Just
because the most important reason is visual art is the only art which is not handed over to the direct consumer, the direct user. Like a play is appreciated by the audience, a film is appreciated by the audience, a book is appreciated by the readers. Visual art is the only art which may not confront the popular audience, but still survive because of the market. Well, there are so many successful artists whose names are not known to common people.
True.
So the end user has no role in the activity of visual arts. There is no end user at all.
Just one technical question, Sirji. This thing. Now, in the name of experimentation, in the name of creativity, I find some sort of a little malpractice happening. For example, it is like, a nice design is designed on a computer, and then the printout is taken on a canvas, and then some touch up with ink and color is done, and the painting. And it still goes on as a creative piece of work. Now, do you think this is this is okay, not okay, or is it malpractice, or what's happening?
I think technology always kept impressing the art, kept changing the art, and the, the nature of art kept changing along with the technology. Now, uh, we used to carve the stone with chisel and hammer. Now people have the pneumatic tools, and then they use cutters. Now, do you think it is unethical if the technology is being used? This has happened in Renaissance period also. The Renaissance artists started using the what do they call it? Hmm, camera obscura, the pinhole camera, to to
Hmm.
to, to understand the perspective. Now, this was introduction of technology. You can't keep technology away from aesthetic practices. That I don't think it is unethical. The only thing is the thought should be there. Now, about music, when synthesizer was introduced, people started saying that this will kill music. It didn't. uh, because finally it is the process of selection that plays. The computer can generate 10 different possibilities. I know a gentleman, Professor Vidwans. He's a professor in IIT, and now he teaches in Pune. Now he has started generating music using computers. So he feeds the Aroha and Avroha, the Wadi and Wadi, Samvadi, Vivadi, Swaras to a computer. Yaman के सारे details दे दिए, and the computer generates Yaman. But it doesn't sound like music every time, because it only gives you permutations and combinations without the aesthetic understanding of that process. So finally, he has to choose some of them as the expressions of the computer. So find the process of selection is done by the human brain. So this music is not generated by computers. Computer is used, but finally it is the human brain which approved of a certain composition. The same is true about such experiments where the computer is being used, but the computer, there is a human brain behind the computer.
But what about the skills, drawing skills?
The skills gradually are taking a backseat. That is true. I think at some juncture the skills will be totally redundant.
Okay. And just last two questions, Sergi, out of this. Like, now, uh, definitely art is a beautiful music, but today, if at all we see the art scenario, the visual art scenario, what do you think is the proportion? Like, how much music is there and how much noise is there?
A lot of noise is there.
A lot of noise.
Yes.
Less music.
Less music.
And do you think any it's going to in future, like, or in the coming days, will this worsen, or do you think it'll get better? How do you think? I mean, this is just a hypothetical.
I think that the scenario is fairly bad. So there is there is surely a possibility of improvement, because the people who are surviving in this scenario, everybody, I'm sure every artist, though he may not be as shameless as I am to say all these things, but I'm sure every artist notices it, feels troubled about it, feels concerned about it, and they will certainly make a difference. Everybody wants to make a difference. It's a matter of time.
And last question, which I usually ask intellectuals or seniors, is like, ours is a country where we have excellent knowledge, scriptures that can guide us. excellent skills, generations wise. You see, we have excellent inspirations. We have excellent master sculptors and artists who have done such things. We have nature, we have culture, we have spiritual, we have everything what mankind needs, like ideally what mankind. Do you think with all these aspects, can one day, or can India be the Vishwa Guru in terms of arts?
Actually, I'm sorry, but I don't understand this term, Vishwaguru, because uh, we were unfortunate that a foreign culture was imposed on us because we were slaves. Otherwise, everybody has to find his or her own way. So, in the realm of art, I think there are no gurus, there are seekers. No, so Vishwaguru is I think is a myth. Yeah, seeking is important. So see, if we have enough seekers, we should be happy and need not care, need not bother to be the Vishwaguru.
Because, but don't you think myth plays a role? Just like I read, the other day I was listening to Devdutt Patnaik, who's a mythologist, and he says like fact is the truth, everybody's truth, and a myth is somebody's truth. It's like, so don't you think it is this somebody's truth which is inspiring or governing?
I don't agree with Devdutt Patnaik. I don't agree with him that it is somebody's truth. I think it is a collective imagination. And it is not somebody who writes a myth. A myth is compiled by a society through the ages.
True.
And it mainly tries to imagine the unknown. It is trying to, like a child. The child sees a curtain and keeps thinking what exactly is behind this, and then he has many ideas, many imaginations. I think a myth is something like that. That it is an attempt to understand the unknown collectively by a group of people, by a civilization, by a culture, and as the scene starts getting more and more enlightened, when there is more knowledge, the myth starts taking different shapes because now there is some light behind the curtain, and the myth has to evolve accordingly. So it is not somebody's truth. It is an unknown corner, which is being imagined by a society.
Excellent, Sarji. Excellent. It's very nice to listen to all these various opinions, and then it goes. It's been I think I've taken a good time of yours, Sarji. But definitely, I would invite you again with another specific topic as such, in terms of visual arts, because the entire objective is that I intend to present a lot of open discussions, open to the society, and let this always be like saying that, okay, this is one perspective, this is one thing, or maybe something, the missing elements can be known as such. This is that.
Yeah. I also enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sarji, for spending your time with us and letting us know your views and your experiences and ideas. Thank you very much.
It was my pleasure.
Friends, I believe that you enjoyed this episode with Dr. Deepak Kannal. Do let us know your opinion about this. Like, subscribe, and comment on channel VR Artist. Thank you very much for being. We'll be back again with another episode. Thank you very much.